Hello everyone, and welcome back to the ARPA Highlight Series. I am Cameron McLaughlin, the Equity and Engagement Coordinator in the People and Belonging Department, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today. The ARPA Highlight Series is here to shine a light on the amazing programs and resources made possible through Athens-Clarke County government's allocation and distribution of ARPA funds. Our goal is to educate and inform our community about the impactful work being done, the lives being changed, and the opportunities being created thanks to this vital funding. In this episode, we're shining a light on the ARPA-funded work of Historic Athens and their Equitable Home Preservation Initiative. This initiative is working to rehabilitate historic homes, preserve affordable housing, and prevent community displacement while honoring the cultural heritage of Athens neighborhoods. We'll explore how this program is helping residents stay in their homes, the challenges faced in historic preservation, and the long-term impact on the community. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired by the stories and insights we will be sharing with you. To get things started, can you tell me your name, what your role is in the organization?
My name is Tanisha Brooks, and I am the Program Coordinator for the Equitable Home Preservation Initiative.
Let's talk a little bit about the Equitable Home Preservation Initiative. What is its primary objectives?
Well, I do know that it's a tongue twister, so we can call it EHP for short. EHP program is a program that focuses on preservation of homes that are 50 years and older. We do rehab on the homes up to $25,000. We do one home per quarter, which equates to $100,000 in rehab towards low to moderate income families per year.
I know the community might not know that this came about from the Athens Justice and Memory Project, Lindentown specifically. Can you talk about how that group, its descendants, influenced the goals and operation of the program?
Of course. So you know they were awarded $5 million in reparations, $2.5 from UGA, $2.5 million from Clarke County government. But due to the gratuity clause, they were not able to receive the funds in hand. So they helped directly allocate the money throughout the community. $720,000 went downtown to First American Bank for down payment assistance. $1.2 million went downtown towards the Black History Center, and $500,000 went for this program. And this program is used to prevent displacement, kind of like what happened to the descendants of Lindentown.
Okay, yeah, I'm sitting down with First American Bank in 2 weeks to do their episode. So I'm happy that you kind of plugged them a little bit. What strategies are in place to ensure that the EHP reaches homeowners most in need of rehabilitation services?
Well, we do have an application process. So they have to do the application in which they have to provide proof of ownership, IDs, and their proof of income. Another thing that we use to make sure the funds get to the correct people is we serve people in a certain qualified census tract, also known as a QCT. So right now we're serving Census Tract 301 and 302, which is East Athens and primarily the Hancock Corridor, which is more lower income areas in that.
You know, technology nowadays is kind of hard you mentioned application process and things like that. So what are some innovative approaches you've used to connect with people who might not necessarily know where to find Historic Athens?
Because our office is in an interesting place, I don't mind going out into the community. Part of my job, I feel like, is community engagement. A lot of the people that we serve are elderly people. The program is not just specifically for elderly people, but that's typically what we serve. And they are not that tech savvy. So a lot of times if they call the office, we can mail them an application. But me personally, I prefer to take it to them, go ahead and do the application, get the supporting documents, take pictures of the site or the work that needs to be done. Not only does it get the process rolling faster, but then they don't have to worry about trying to get it back to the office. We do some tabling. You know, we have community events where we do information sharing. I've been on the radio with Miss Hattie and Jeff before. Also, I was invited to speak at a affordable housing seminar thing.
Okay.
Just talk about different programming that's going around as it relates to affordable housing, because this is a method of affordable housing.
Yes.
Of course, we have a marketing and comms person who shares the information online. A lot of times we deal with the children of the elderly who kind of say, hey, I saw this, I want to help my mom. So that kind of helps the process, and word of mouth, because they tell everybody, hey, somebody helped me fix my house, and it kind of goes from there.
And you talked about the QCTs being the areas of interest where you guys go out and find people to apply. So what are some requirements, or is there a criteria that's used to select home or people for this program?
So we do have two programs at Historic Athens. We have hands-on, where we go up to $5,000 in repairs. We can serve all of Athens with that program, but sometimes we have people who have repairs that are a little more extensive, that goes beyond the $5,000 mark. So if you apply and you need a roof, of course we can't get a roof for $5,000. So something like that would typically fall under the scope of an EHP project. Okay. The fact that we can only do 4 per year kind of slows it down, but we're still able to do more overall for one home.
Okay, so let's go into that a little bit more. Like, what other types of rehabilitation services have been provided through this program?
Like I said, roof replacements, removal and replacement of insulation in homes, which is giving them a better quality of life, making their homes more energy efficient, complete tear off and replacement of bathrooms to, have handicap accessible showers and things like that, higher toilets so you don't have to sit down so low. And something that I ran into a lot was the foundation lifting and the flooring. The house lifting up. So we've had projects where we actually had to jack the house back up off the ground.
To prevent stuff like flooding and stuff
yes,
like that.
And that has been very interesting the first time I saw that.
Okay. You talked about affordable housing. So how do you assure that these homes remain affordable and accessible to the people who own the house?
The main thing is trying to keep the homes in the family. If you have a home and the person needs to replace the roof, if they can't afford it, if a developer comes in and say, hey, well, I can buy that from you for $100,000, even though that's not a lot of money to a person who can't fix the roof and all of this, that may seem, tempting for them. So if we can fix the home and keep them in the home, that in itself is a way to create generational wealth and things like that for the families and to keep them affordable. One of my most recent projects was actually one of my favorite projects because of that generational wealth piece and keeping the home in the family. I knew the lady who owned the house first. She deeded it correctly to her daughter, but she did pass away. So the daughter needed rehab on the home, and we were able to go in and rehab it, and now it's staying in the family. Also, we have what they call an affordability period, which is like a 10-year period where it's prorated. So they don't have to pay the money back. Let me be clear. But if you decide you want to sell your house after 5 years, you have to pay a prorated amount of the money back. And so that kind of discourages the sale of the home for some families.
So we talked about like this awesome program, and I'm sure there are some challenges that might come with implementing these programs, getting people to sign up. So let's talk a little bit about those challenges and like what you've learned from them and how it's helped make the program.
Well, getting people to sign up is not a problem. The problem comes in when people don't have the home in their names. As I just mentioned, the home being deeded correctly. Culturally, I can only speak for my culture. A lot of times we don't trust people. And we don't know what we're signing, so we won't sign and just say, hey, I'm going to leave my house too if something happens to me. Well, if they end up passing away, we can't repair that home if it hasn't been deeded correctly. So I have applied for funds where we can have line items for legal fees, such as probate, retaining an attorney, because that is the one thing that is kind of preventing us from helping people. Another thing, the grant was written prior to my starting. I just came along and implemented the program. In that, there was the QCT piece, which limits us from serving everybody in Athens. Although a person might live up past, by the mall, that doesn't mean that their income, is allowing them to make repairs on their home. But because they're in the area where most people are doing well, they're out of the QCT. So those are the two challenges that I have really ran into. And of course, we can always use more money because we can always, fix more houses.
Okay. So let's talk about some successes. Like, how do you all evaluate the success of the program?
Surveys. So aside from that, we also have a great dissemination plan with our marketing and comms person. We highlight each project that we do. I guess the realtor in me created these little signs that are made like houses. So once we go in and get ready to start doing the work, we put a sign in the yard to let you know that this is an EHP project funded, through Clarke County government. And we do the completion of work forms. Once the work is completed, we go through the site with the homeowner and have them sign off on it. And of course, the surveys allow for feedback.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that feedback. How have you used it to make improvements to the program? So
far, we haven't had a lot of bad feedback. The only thing, let me give you an example. I had a resident who was very ill, and I think, the times the contractors would come, like she might go to chemo, she might not be feeling good that day, and the contractors are there. So kind of trying to work around a schedule of a person who's ill, or elderly person, trying to get in and out, get the work done with a quality of work, but not spend so much time in the home. So that was one piece of feedback that I feel like we got and we implemented. And majority of it really is more houses. People want us to be able to serve more people. I mean, for a year, that is great. I mean, I'm not, but if we could do 8, that'd be amazing.
Can you share some stories or I know you mentioned one like favorite project of yours, but do you have any other highlight stories or anything about the program?
My first project, it was very intense. This person had actually been on the list for hands-on for the $5,000, but the rehab that was needed was so expensive, the $5,000 wouldn't have done anything. So we were able to go in. She had some rodent issues, so we were able to get some pest control out to deal with that. We removed the insulation from the attic, sanitized the attic, put new insulation in. When we pulled up the floors, there were no beams to support the flooring. It was like it went straight to the ground, and it was something. So we had to repair all of that. And during the process, the hot water heater went out, so we had to buy a hot water heater. And then tear down 2 bathrooms because the rodents had kind of been eating through the sheetrock, and replace those for her. And then sometimes we have contractors who will throw in additional stuff in kind, which, really helps out a lot because it goes a long way. But when stuff comes up, like the hot water heater going out after we've already budgeted out what we're going to do, to have people kind of move things around or donate in-kind services really helps out a lot. So that was like the biggest project, and it was my first project.
Oh, wow. It sounds like a program that, could change someone's life. I'm sure that you all get the stories where, somebody might start crying. People are, I'm sure, really happy to kind of get this opportunity. So you mentioned the funding as being an obstacle. You mentioned the amount of time that you have to complete these programs. What is the future of this program? Let's say more funding becomes available. Are there some new initiatives you can kind of expand from the program? Like, let's talk about the future, like what your ideal future is of this program.
Well, I've already been applying for additional funding. I've applied for some home funds, some CPP funds, which is the Community Partnership Program. We've also done grant application for private foundations. On Tuesday, my colleagues and I are going to Atlanta to a fundraising event. Currently, one thing I am working on with United Community Credit Union. We're working on a program called Preserve and Prosper, which will be financial literacy for historic homeowners.
Okay.
So I'm pretty excited about that because, there's a link between owning a historic home and financial literacy because the work that goes into historic homes is more expensive than making a repair or replacement on a newer model home.
Okay. So let's talk about like some collaboration. I know this is something that, and it's not on the question list. This is just something I came up with in our conversation. But let's talk about some collaboration. I know that this program couldn't just work with you all or ACC Gov. There has to be like a collaboration where there's contractors and other things. Talk about that. Talk about how it's been putting together a group of people to kind of make this vision work.
So right now, one of my main contractors that I use for my programs are called, his name is, the company is called Above and Beyond.
Okay.
Anthony London and his wife, Deborah London. Since he is certified in so many other things, I can go to him, we can get the scope, and then he kind of brings everybody else in, and then he kind of gets the check and disperse it that way.
Yes.
That makes things a lot easier. Because I know my first project, I was like, oh my God, I got to get pest control. I got to get insulation people. I got to get, but then when I sat down with one GC, he's like, no, we can pull all this in. So what has become of that partnership is now he is a Historic Athens partner because he has contributed up to like $5,000 in kind work so far. Nice. And like currently right now, we actually have a roof replacement project that we're working on, and it's with the hands-on project, but it's monies from Jackson EMC, where they gave money for a roof. We have $8,000 from there, $5,000 from Jackson EMC, from hands-on, which is CDBG, Community Block Development Grant, and then he's going to donate about $6,000 in in-kind services, and then we're going to be able to replace this hole. So just coming up with innovative ways like collaborative funding to get some things done has been pretty cool.
Okay, so talk about collaborative funding. ARPA money specifically is going to run out. So you talked about the future. So what advice would you give to other organizations who are looking to start similar programs with funding from ACC Gov?
My main thing is to be prepared. A lot of people see these RFP go out and they think that, oh, I'm going to go get this money and it's an easy process. It's not an easy process. It's a very competitive process. You have to have a stable organization. Most of this money is reimbursement basis type situation. So you have to have money up front and wait on your reimbursement to come back in. The good thing about the community partnership program is you have an option to get a disbursement up front and you can get paid monthly up front, or you can do the reimbursement basis. So I really like that option there because of my previous work with other orgs, getting CDBG funding. That reimbursement piece can be detrimental. So I know it kind of discourages a lot of small nonprofits from applying because a lot of times they don't have that money up front, but possibly collaborating with bigger nonprofits and allowing them to be your fiscal agent or things like that can help with the, with them getting these funds. Also help with the technical assistance piece because it is competitive. The grant writing it can be a lot, but that reporting and ensuring that you're getting your reimbursements to make sure you can keep your work going is super important.
All right, so we're getting towards the end of this interview. Are there any other specific things that you would like the people listening, people who are interested in this program, to know about the impact that ARPA funds has had, not only on this program, but Historic Athens as an organization? I
really like the way that ARPA funds have been allocated throughout the community. I feel like they're making a direct impact on people's lives. We live in this microwave generation. We want instant gratification. Yes. So the job I had prior to this, I did like social services for about 4 years, where it kind of like we put a plan in action and over time we see the result of our labor. Yes. But with this work right here, to ask somebody, hey, do you like your roof? And they're like, yeah, I don't have to put any buckets out, when it rains and things like that. Seeing that and that lasting impact is what's so meaningful to me about the ARPA funds that are being dispersed. There's a lot of organizations doing great work with the money. There's a couple more rehab programs out there. Like with ours, the home has to be 50 years or older. But if you go to Athens Council on Aging, they have a similar program where the person has to be 65 years old or older. Athens Land Trust has a program where they're doing rehab as well. So just to see the funds going out into the community and getting used up, because we don't want to send anything back, and getting used up is a good thing, and I like to see it.
Cool. And my last question, how can the community get involved and support these efforts in this initiative?
We're always looking for volunteers to do, small, minor things. We wouldn't ask you to come install a bathroom, but like some beautification projects, we could always use volunteers for that. Donations, of course, we're not going to turn down any financial support and any in-kind support. Today I had a meeting with an attorney who's going to give me some advice on how to navigate these homes not being in people's names and things like that. So that in-kind support, is really important too, because when we don't have a line item as far as money is concerned, your advice or your guidance or consultants can really help us get to where we're trying to be.
All right, and before we log off, how could someone who wants to benefit from this program find you, who you are, your name, email address? How, if I wanted to apply for some funding, how would I find it?
Our office is located at 489 Prince Avenue in Old Fire Hall number 2. Telephone number is 706-389-0083. And I can always be reached by email at tanisha@historicathens.com. And that's TANEISHA@historicathens.com.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the ARPA Highlight Series. We hope you've gained valuable insights into the impactful work of Historic Athens through their Equitable Home Preservation Initiative. This program is dedicated to preserving affordable housing, preventing community displacement, and honoring the cultural spirit of our local neighborhoods. A special thanks to Tanisha Brooks, the Equitable Home Preservation Coordinator at Historic Athens, for sharing her expertise and passion for this initiative. Her leadership is instrumental in guiding efforts to rehabilitate historic homes and support our community. Be sure to tune in to future episodes as we continue to highlight transformative projects and resources benefiting Athens-Clarke County. Until next time, take care and stay informed.